It was cool, right? Absolutely.
He lost the
USB, so we couldn't even put an episode out.
It's right here. I found it. Don't worry.
Man goes to me last week. Do you know when this episode?
That's not what happened.
Yes, that's what happened.
I left it in the studio. Go.
29.
Yeah. One, go.
I'm Leon, this is episode 29 of the Unplugged Podcast. Hope you enjoy.
So, the man talk, how does that fit into what you were just talking about in terms of your passion and because that's where we met.
Yeah.
So, Leon, along with Terrell Lewis, has a, what would you describe it?
Yeah, what would you describe the man talk as?
It's a platform to inspire impactful change through conversation. So whether it be content on the social media or through events or like we're going to go into sort of other fields as well.
Yeah.
But it's just basically having a positive impact through conversation. So whether that's someone sharing their life experience and that affects somebody and allows somebody else to feel comfortable in their situation, and it's just about empowering men. I feel like we felt like there wasn't a space for men directly just to be empowering men in all fields, because I think like on social media currently there's a lot of segregation. So if it's like business or entrepreneurial stuff or fitness or finance or mental health, they're all in their own fields. There's nothing that's kind of catering for all, but they're all kind of are interlinked and all affect each other. So it's just like, we just thought it was something that was needed. And
for you, how did that like concept come? Like, what was it about that you know, what sparked it in your mind that this is something I need to do?
Finding out early last year, I found out that suicide was the leading cause of death in young males.
Yeah.
2 years ago, 2 years prior to that, I went through depression myself, and I was feeling suicidal, and I didn't want to take any action on it, but I was just feeling suicidal. Life's long, don't want to be here anymore. But
can you talk about what was happening at the time to make you feel that way?
No, I couldn't put my finger on it at the time. Like I was just going through it and hoping it was gonna like miraculously shift one morning when I woke up. And my favorite place was sleep, because that was when I was away from everything, do you know? And it was reading a book which shifted, and it wasn't something I was planning on or looking to a book to do, but it was reading a book that shifted everything in that. And then it was just like finding out last year that suicide is the leading cause of death in young males. I didn't know that fact.
Yeah.
So even if I knew that fact when I was going through what I was going through, it would have kind of taken the burden off of me a little bit, just to know that it's a common thing that a lot of males must be struggling with. That.
I was going to ask you that as well. How do you think, if you'd known that fact at the time, would you have acted differently, or would you have had a different perception of what was going on?
Or even I might have been more scared about the situation I was in, because I'm like, oh shit, like this is a leading cause of death, so I need to now take some sort of action and do something about it. So and I just think it's about having conversations. Like males, we don't really have a lot of space that we can have conversations and be vulnerable. And I've got a bit of a chesty cough at the moment.
Yeah, do you, fam?
Just want to apologize to the listeners if there's some like weird noises and stuff. But it was. What
was the name of the book you read?
It was Charlemagne the God's book. Black Privilege.
Black Privilege, yeah. I still haven't read it, man.
And I read it out of curiosity, because I was like, what's Charlemagne the God gonna have a book about? Like, that's gonna. And then I saw that the reviews were really good for it, and I was just like, how is this book gonna be good? Like I just couldn't see it. And then reading the book, it just shifted loads of things for me. It was like it gave me all of the questions that I needed to ask, and then also gave me all of the answers.
Was that like your first foray into like quote unquote self-help?
No,
before that, when you been reading?
I had read The Secret. I had read The Power of Now, and
that's a good book. I'm like going through that at the moment.
And it is a good book, but at the time when I needed it, it didn't help me. So I didn't. I'm just saying that, you know, a self-help book. I'm like, I need help. I'm gonna go to a self-help book.
I think it's a big thing, especially with those books. It has to be a thing of right place, right time.
Yeah. I think that's with every book.
Or you read it and you go back to it. Like I've read half of it, and now I'm gonna go back to the rest of it. And like I've read a few other books as well.
And it's like with me and books, I won't just say to somebody like, I don't really like people asking me, what books do I like? Like, what books do I think are good? I like to speak to somebody and prescribe a book to someone. Yeah. Because off the back of me just saying a book's good, like, I know that there was a time that book was good for me, but if I read it like 2 years earlier, it wouldn't have been great. So it's
not like when you're prescribing non-fiction or like fantasy. Those books you can prescribe to somebody just easy because it's for everyone. But these books are like, if you're going through something, this will then enlighten you, and, you know, maybe make a change in an X amount person's life. Yeah,
I had a similar experience what you're talking about. I remember speaking to one of my mentors one time, and I was telling him about just a certain issue I was going through, and I was really looking for a book to do with that specifically. And the book he gave me didn't really cover that point that I needed to get touched. Like it did in a weird off key sort of way. But yeah, I do understand what you mean by how, you know, when you're really, you know, prescribing a book to someone, it really depends upon their situation, and being able to make sure that you've basically like a doctor, you're prescribing them. This is something that can,
relatable as well. Yeah. It has to be relatable. Yeah, and that's the thing that with everything in self growth. Like I go to church now. I'm into church, and I go to church, and that's only because faith has been made relatable, and it's been as well me reading a lot of these self-development, self-growth books, and seeing that a lot of the principles, because in a lot of the books, the principles are pretty much the same, but articulated in a different way. Yeah. Or just someone might go a bit deeper into it or take it to a different realm. But a lot of the principles were like biblical principles, and I was seeing that as I was reading it, and that kind of opened me up to it. And then my friend's mum invited me down to a church, and it was just like,
which church you go to?
Relatable to me. I go to the Tabernacle in Lewisham.
There you go. If you want to connect.
But again, like last year, if you asked me 9 months ago, I would have said like I believe in
higher power.
I'd say you will never ever catch me going to church every Sunday. And then it's just like, this is the crazy thing about life is that you never know. I could argue with you today, like proper argue, fully in this argument today, and then in 6 months' time have a complete different view and probably agree with you about the same thing just because my perspective, my viewpoint's changed on it. And that's the thing about life is that you can change and shift as an individual. You can see different things differently later on in life. So it's just I'm just open to things at the moment. Like I'm open to stuff. So I always listen to what someone has to say. I always take it on board, but also even if I don't agree, I try to understand from their viewpoint where they're coming from or how it could be that way for someone else. You know what I mean?
In order to get like the middle ground to be like, cool. It's like you look at it more of like a healthy, even if you don't disagree with something. So if you don't agree with something, a healthy disregard. So it's not like you're shunning them or you're completely ruling them out. It's like, I can see your point of view, so I can.
And we can both have a point of view.
Yeah, of course. And as we're, we deserve to have, an opinion.
Let me ask you this question then. Right, how much time do you think you spend inside your own head? Because just having this conversation with you now, I feel like you're like quite, you're quite wrapped up in who you are and a perception of yourself. And I feel like that manifested itself in what you talked about before in terms of your depression. But it was also the key to what made you be able to see a way out of it. So do you feel like you talk to yourself a lot? Or like how is that dialogue between you and yourself?
I guess it's just acceptance, I guess, of myself, of my situation, of who I am as an individual. Yeah. I try to not spend a lot of time inside myself and having a conversation about stuff. I think this is another thing that people don't really speak about is that you have a voice in your head, you have a conversation with yourself, innit?
And I think that's perfectly normal. A lot of people don't speak about like you have a voice in your head and that you are going to be communicating with yourself and having a voice. So even when you guys are listening to me, you're going to be having a conversation with yourself about the conversation that I'm having with you. And it's just like that negative talk that a lot of people have with themselves
in regards to like self-doubt and
100%
insecurities and everything. It's like a lot of people have no sort of external person telling them that that's okay, or even just trying to shift the kind of conversation that they're having with themselves. Because a lot of the time, you know, I spoke earlier on about people reaching their greatness, but a lot of the time it's just because people have crap conversation with themselves, with their self-esteem, like just self-doubt. And with majority of things in this life now, it's like, if you can't do it, you either accept it or you learn to do it. Like you like it's like that. Like a lot of people
it's a simple situation,
fighting things. Yeah, but it's that simple. And it's like, I don't want to hear, like, even you speaking to yourself, I don't want to hear you in your head telling yourself every day, I'm not that great at this, or I'm not that great. Or it's like, you need to either accept it, get over it, accept it, that's who I am, or you need to put the work in that area.
So what do you think it is that stops people from being able to accept that? Like you said gratitude in the beginning as one of your favorite words.
Yeah.
So, like, why is it then that people find out that concept hard to deal with?
Or what's been the sort of...
For me, reading loads of books, and again, reading isn't my thing. Like I listen to audiobooks, so I listen to Audible because it works for me. I'm able to fit it in and to be to take stuff from books. And for myself, even that, at first, I started reading books, and it was like, I'll get to the end of the page, couldn't remember what I was reading.
Go back and do it again.
Go back and do it again. Or it's just like, when am I going to read? I'm going to read before I go to bed. I get to bed, start reading. I'm tired. This is long. I say to myself, I'm just going to read a chapter, but like, you read 2 sentences and you're like, this is long, and it's not sinking in because I'm tired. You know, I'm just going to go to bed and then I'll read it tomorrow. And then books were taking me months if I was even finishing them, like to finish a book. It was just taking me long. So then when it was actually, I was going through an issue in my relationship, and I was speaking to my godfather, and he was like, I was talking about the Power of Now because I was reading the physical book of the Power of Now, and then he was like, he listened to it on Audible, and I was like, okay. And then because I kind of look up to my godfather, I was like, so it's okay to listen to audiobooks, because in my head, because again, and this is why
like it was cheating.
This is why, because this is why I think the man talk is good. This is why the man talk is good, because sometimes the only perspective that you've created or what you have in your head is just through your experience in life and how you see things. So to me, when I was in school, or when I was in nursery, I was read to, and then they started teaching me how to read, and then when I started learning how to read, I then had my own books and I read to myself, or I read aloud, and then I started getting bigger books as my reading improved. So then I'm like, how can I go from me reading a book, because that's like me advancing, to then go to somebody reading a book to me? Like that's just how I saw it in my head.
Yeah, you assume it's like.
And then as well, it's like, I felt like I couldn't keep up with conversations with people if I'm like, I'm reading this book at the moment, and it's like, well, I'm listening to the Audible version of it. It was just like, I felt I couldn't keep up in the conversation. So then having that conversation with my godfather, I was like, it's okay for me to listen to audiobooks. And then I downloaded The Power of Now, and the author, I can never say his name correctly. It's weird. It's Eke Tolo or something. if apologies to the listeners, I can't remember the exact pronunciation of his name. But the author, he reads the book on Audible, and I was going to swear, but I'm not going to swear. It's boring. Very, very boring how he reads the book. So then that was my first experience of Audible. Listening to an Audible book, and I listened to the whole book on there. But I was like, this Audible thing don't really work for me. Like it's not really for me. And then I was going through my sort of depression and low point at the time. And then I downloaded Charlemagne the God's book, and Charlemagne the God.
It's by Eckhart Tolle. That's The Power of Now.
That's it. Yes.
Charlemagne has an entertaining way of speaking.
It's relatable. It's relatable for me. And then it was like I was switched on. It was just like listening to a conversation.
Like, is it the same speed he speaks there, like on the Breakfast Club, or?
Yeah, it's just like a conversation.
So but it's direct, and it's kind of in his way. Or do you find that it's it's him, or is it because it's an American style of telling a story that you find
no, because it's him, but it was just a case of that opened me up now, because I'm like, okay, so I now have to think about who's narrating the book, who's going to be speaking the book, and because some books are great, but then the narration of the book's not exciting, it's going to be boring. So now I know that is one book. The Power of Now is a great book.
Yeah.
However, if you are going to listen to it on Audible, it's boring. But I can tell you that it's boring. Like, do you understand?
Yeah.
Whereas now, if I can just... This is what I'm saying about prescribing things to people. And it's like, I always communicate with people exactly what it is, what my experience of that was. But with Charlemagne, he exceeded my expectations. He speaks on like... he speaks on sort of the history of his hometown and slavery and distribution. It was just like, he exceeded my expectations of him putting a book together.
Yeah.
And he just, there's so many things he speaks on about it in the book that it's kind of hard just to put it in a few sentences, but it's just like, some of the things that sort of stood out for me was just, a lot of us go, for example, you guys do a podcast, your podcast is great, but there's probably someone at home that's watching your podcast and like, it would be great to do a podcast. Like, let me start a podcast. Yeah. And I'm not trying to say to you watching at home or that you shouldn't start a podcast, and you're not, but you have to have a passion and a purpose for you to do a podcast. You can't just do a podcast for podcast's sake, if that makes sense.
I can attest to that fact.
Yeah. So
it's harder than it looks.
It's just
way
like
harder.
And
consistently as well.
Yeah.
Charlemagne just says that as accountability. Like there's so many of people who he knows who he wanted to himself become a rapper and do the whole rap thing.
Yeah,
and
I remember him talking about that on his podcast actually. Yeah,
that's not your skill set. He's like fuck that, like forget that. No, like, and then it wasn't until someone said to him like fuck that, like, that's not where your talent lies. You're a radio presenter. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to focus on.
Yeah,
but there's too many people who aren't. I've gone off on a tangent.
No, it's still relevant, man. It's still relevant, my guy.
Yeah, so that was one thing I took. So in my life, I kind of reflected and I was like, there's so many things that I'm pursuing and I'm not actually pursuing it for myself.
Right. There
were a lot of things that I was doing just because someone said, or I might have done something and been all right, and then they're like, people are like, yeah, you're good at that. You should do that. And then I kind of continued doing it, but then it was just like, it wasn't fulfilling me. Like,
so you was doing it for them rather than yourself.
Yeah, and I got lost in doing things for other people as opposed to like pursuing a passion, and that's what it was for me. And then as well, my viewpoint has always been like, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. So a lot of things I would do was just to make money. So if it weren't making money, I wouldn't do it. But then I've realized the power in, collaborating, doing things for free, and actually working on your passion as opposed to just doing something for money. And you'll actually get further in, like Charlemagne words as putting the weed in the bag, like just working and focusing on what you're doing now, and as opposed to making this big money that you're going to make at the end. So a lot of people focused on like, I want to make money, so then you don't actually go through the whole process and then closing down doors.
Yeah.
Another thing he speaks on is being open to making new friends. Sorry about that.
That's right, bro.
Yeah, making new friends. He talks on DJ Khaled and Drake and that whole no new friends thing. He says he likes the song, but the whole concept is a load of bullshit.
The amount of time people have sat in that chair and said they're on the no new friends vibe is actually surprising. Yeah,
it's and I've always that's always been my viewpoint. I've been like, I got my circle. I don't need what do I need friends for, and you can't trust people and blah, all of these things. And then it wasn't until reading that book that I kind of had to step back, and he gave me a different perspective, and just saying that so many doors have opened through new friendships that he's made. And if you're in a friend group where you're still speaking about who's the fucking best rapper and having these same old conversations, who's gonna win the Premier League this year and blah blah blah, like it's fine to have these conversations. Like, don't get me wrong, but if that's the only conversation that you're having in your friendship group, then you need to like shift some stuff up. And it's just like that. So it's like, I realized that in Charlemagne's book, in reading it and going through it, is that I realized in my life that I was stagnant. And that's what got me to my depressed place, was that I was stagnant. So at work, I got promotions and I been successful in certain areas in my life, but it wasn't of my own work, if that makes sense. So today I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go to work, and someone chooses to, or someone might have moved on above me, and then someone chooses to put me in a new role. But I didn't wake up out of my bed today saying, I'm going to work, I'm going for this promotion, baby. I'm gonna put in this graft. They're gonna see me working today, and they're gonna get that promotion. And there's so many things that happen, and you kind of think you're leveling up and think that you're evolving.
Yeah.
And then you're like, really? I ain't doing shit. I'm just going to work and working. And then someone said that, you know,
you're good at what
you should be happy, or you should be.
Yeah, and then you get promoted. But I haven't actually done. I've not gone.
So and you haven't actually technically wanted it in the first place.
Yeah,
it's just something that you understand as a process of being employed.
Yeah.
So it just happens, but it's supposed to bring a remuneration brings remuneration and a so-called quote unquote happiness. But that happiness doesn't come, especially when you don't feel like you wanted it or you didn't strive for it. You may want it after when you get it.
But I would look back and I'll be like, I'm doing fucking great. I've been promoted 3 times in the past 5 years or something like that, and it's just like. So
you're saying it just meant nothing to you?
It's not that it didn't mean anything. It's just that
it didn't come homegrown. It didn't feel.
I didn't put the work in for it.
So you feel like you didn't deserve it?
No, I just went to work for somebody, and I was a good employer, and someone chose to employ me. To promote me. Yeah. But I wasn't going to work. Waking up on Monday morning saying I'm gonna grind and put in the work to get a promotion.
So you didn't have that spark.
So over the years, if I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm evolving. I'm getting better because I'm getting promoted in work. But in hindsight, all I'm doing is I'm just in a raft, going with the current of life, and that's just what happens. You're gonna, if you go to work every day, and you do a good job. If someone else shifts above you, then you're gonna get promoted. But that was it. But then if I look back and I'll go, oh yeah, you know, I was doing great because I was promoted, and it really wasn't that. So I just kind of had to shift up my thing and be working and putting a graft in because, like a 9 to 5 doesn't fulfill me. Like I've realized, and again, it's been through reading books, but it's about pursuing a passion. Yeah. And you may not necessarily have a passion, but just pursue something. Like just try it. It's a journey and a process. And like my life now, I'm enjoying the process of life. And I, you know, there's times I was battling like a negative thing happening or something bad happening, but I've realized that majority of the time, like these negative situations are things that lead you to growth, lead you to bettering yourself. Like because I wrote my car off in December. I wrote my car off. I went to overtake a car. And I went through a central reservation, and I physically drove through 2 sets of traffic lights, and it was like, it was a wake up call for me. Yeah. And I wasn't injured or nothing, and I kind of went through the process afterwards of, it was like probably the most, in fact, it was the most traumatic thing that's happened to me in my life. But I went through a process afterwards of, I just had to weigh up like life really and think about things, and then Cadet passed away a few months afterwards, and then it was just like, wow, like it's a real thing. So it was just like, now I'm just like, I want to utilize and make the most of every day. And it's all been a process and things kind of interlinking and coming together, but it's just trusting the process. And that's what I say to any and everyone, is just like, whatever situation or whatever thing you're going through, you need to trust and believe in the process. Yeah. And understand that, you know, even if you are going through this thing at the moment, it's going to lead you to your greatness if that's what you want to pursue. Because again, I think it's down to the individual and for you to put the work in to get to that point. Because I'm just creating. I'm just working on stuff. Like I'm not on a level that, you know, I'm going to go, oh, I'm the most successful, I'm doing this or whatever, but I just know I'm on my grind and I'm going to get to wherever I get to. But I know that the grind never stops. So whatever level you get to, the grind never stops. Do you know what I mean? So
you can always build more. You can always, you know.
Yeah, I hear that.
As long as you have that fulfilling spot, like describing that.
Yeah.
But even you won't want to stop because
but even if whatever level you are at, if you're at the top, if you stop,
you're going down. Gonna catch you.
You're going to go down. You're moving behind. So it's just like that. And it's just like, even if you look at like brands, like how brands were like, for example, Sony had the TV market on lockdown. Like when I was younger, Sony was kind of the it brand to have. If you had a TV in your house like that, that was kind of the it brand. And then there was other brands like JVC that was around, and Samsung was never really a thing with TVs. And
no threat at all. It was Toshiba.
Yeah, like there's a bare
Panasonic.
Yeah, but all of them were kind of strong brands in the thing, and it was just like, yeah, if you don't evolve and keep up with the market, then it's just gonna.
Yeah, look at BlackBerry.
Yeah,
lock off. They're actually closed now.
Yes, literally.
Yeah. They make phones for security, and that's it. So they make like stuff like MA5, blah blah, really encrypted, high encryption phones, but there's no public phone. That they shut the public service down.
Yeah. So you talked about Black Privilege and The Power of Now. What other books?
Again, you know what I mean. I don't want to talk about books, so I like to prescribe my books.
No,
what books help you?
Specifically,
not for us,
specifically you.
For you. And
what other books do you gravitate to?
If we're gonna talk about business, money, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich is like a staple book. Majority of the successful people have read that book. Rich Dad Poor Dad's another book in that realm.
Don't just quote books. I want books that you've read and you thought, right, this is I'm using this.
The most impactful books for me.
Yeah, and they've made a considerable change, or not even considerable, but they've just made you, like you said, steer in a different direction in more positive light.
Charlemagne the God's book, Black Privilege, that was definitely majorly impactful. Gary V Crushing It. That was just impactful regarding like with me building up my photography and just how I view sort of any business now that I do. Like Gary V Crushing It, that's an amazing book. Regarding like if we speak about like self-help books, like I took a lot from like The Power of Now. I took a lot from like The Secret and reading The Secret and that whole law of attraction concept. But I can't remember the author's name, but The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. That's a really good book.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah,
sounds a great title though.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book.
So that's more based on,
I would say,
self-development, self-exploration.
If you're on a journey of going to getting a self-help book, like in regards to the realm of the self-help books, I felt as though that was the best for me, just regarding like how a lot of us view material possessions and material things to be success and to like lead to happiness. But I think in the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, they speak about sort of it's kind of more like sort of mindfulness and just a few.
Is that the title of the book?
Steps. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an incredible title, right?
Yeah, I thought you were describing the author.
It sounds really good.
So where are we at? The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Regarding, I would say Think and Grow Rich is definitely in there as being an impactful book for me. Okay. Like I said it earlier on, but I'm not just quoting books.
Yeah. Because I mean, I've read a lot of the big titles as well, but nothing has really.
Rob, if you want to think of look at finance, I think his name is Rob Moore. He's got a book called Money. It's money. It's the main title is Money, and then it's got some sort of subtitle. But that's an amazing book and breaks down money and the viewpoint and the importance of money, and just like how a lot of poor people or people who are not good with finance see it as that, it's the rich in the world that are keeping the poor, and that, money is almost a bad thing. Yeah. But in fact, you're just not good with money. Like that. That's what it all boils down to. So even if we gave you £5 million today, if we come and saw you in 5 years' time, you probably wouldn't have that, because a lot of us, we live above our means all the time. So it was like the more money you get is just the more money that you spend, and we're in just the whole consumer thing. So yeah. I said this
on a podcast previously that there was a statistic that said that we spend on average 125% of our net worth in your lifetime. You spend 125% of your net worth on average.
It's mad. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that was a impactful book. If you want to speak about training and mindset and working on yourself and like development. I don't know if you're going to doing like gym and stuff. David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
Oh, that guy's a fucking beast.
Have you read the book though?
I haven't read the book. I've read like excerpts of the book, but I've watched a lot of his interviews. He is fucking crazy.
So obviously you said that because I'm gonna big myself up. I've done a half marathon on Sunday.
Bang bang.
Hackney
half, yeah.
Yeah. An hour and 36 minutes for all of those that are interested in time. But, he inspired me. Like he's a beast, as you were saying, but. I've done obviously like follow me on social media, so you see that I run like daily and have that in my. But that's down to really reading his book. I'd probably say like just having that inspire and not having.
I think he ran 100 miles in a day with no training. He just thought, fuck it, I'm doing it, and just turned up and he ran it. And by the end of it, man fucked up his shins, his feet, everything. Like he's
taped his leg to.
Yeah, he's literally taping his leg together just to finish it.
Wow.
His shins were like broken. He had to tape them up. Like it was mental.
So when I tell you he's crazy, I'm not exaggerating.
He's actually mad. I need to check this out.
Yeah,
I've heard of him, but I haven't really.
Yeah,
delved into his stuff.
His book that definitely leave you thinking.
I can do more in life.
Like there's no limit.
Yeah.
That's a good mix so far.
Yeah, so it's probably a few more titles, but yeah. But again, this is the power of Audible, because I'm able to fit it into my life. So when I've been commuting to work, or if I've had spare time or gym, or I forgot my headphones today because I was annoyed, so I could have like listened to a book on the way here. So it gives you that freedom to do so, because I couldn't sit on like I see people doing it all the time, and that's cool. It works for you. It's fine. Not discrediting you, but I can't do that. I couldn't just sit on a train and be reading a book. Like I'll be hearing all these noises and stuff and be looking around in it. Like for me to focus and zone.
It's hard though. I can't lie, especially on a loud underground. It's hard. Like when I whip out a book, sometimes it's like really have to put my focus, and I still actually have my headphones in, and like on a certain track at a low level.
I don't understand how people listen to music. And
I just have it at a low level because the music isn't for me to even listen to the music.
Block out the noise.
It's to block out the noise of the actual train.
And then you switch off to the music and just focus on the...
Yeah, I can only do that if I'm listening to music that I know very well, or it's
That's
classical.
what I'm saying. I usually have
classical music, because if I know the music very well, I don't need to listen to it anymore.
I feel it. I know what the beats, I know what patterns. Nothing's not going to excite me. Okay. Or you could listen to like bamboo white noise. I find that when I'm trying to focus, right, when I'm at work, when I'm working for myself and doing stuff, is I listen to bamboo white noise. It was literally just the sound of water trickling down a waterfall.
Okay.
And then literally just...
Is that one of your favorite sounds? Or?
Do you know what, right? That got me through like university, right? When what we used to work, how we used to work in uni is like, everyone wanted to be social at the library or whatnot.
Nah, even you wanted to be social.
Whoa. Even when I was at home though, and I couldn't focus, right?
Yeah.
If I hadn't gone to the gym today, I couldn't focus or something like that. I'd put that on, and then that would just get me to zone out, and I'd be able to just type away.
Okay.
Just when I had to write something, because it's just very still. It's the same sound. It just keeps you going on over and over again, and just it's just bamboo white noise dripping. Or you can have white noise from the TV. Just anything, any white noise, just any background noise that just stays constant. It's completely the same. Yeah. So even people talking in the background, as long as it's exactly the same talking, same level, same height of volume. That could be white noise. But yeah, it's therapeutic. It's calming. So you could try that.
What's the thing called when they whisper in the
ASMR. No, don't get me
We talked about this last week. I can't let it's going to be a running thread through the podcast, right?
I hate it so much.
No, I ain't gonna lie. Like I watched stuff on YouTube, and it kind of it was a nice experience.
Yeah, like they do stuff with the gooey thing, and they get
it was a nice experience.
It's soothing. But it made me cringe. That's it. Just makes me cringe. Like,
this guy's weird, man.
Yeah, like I'm just there, like this needs to stop.
I mean, some people do absolutely love it. Like, I know that they watch it in the car or on their phone or something.
They need help.
I'm like, I don't know what, but fair enough. People just so look, I see it in younger kids too. They like, because ASMR is all over Instagram.
Yeah.
And Snapchat is one of the biggest things that there's an ad that comes up at least every 5-6 ads, which is ASMR or something like that. For some of these kids, it's like, they're just watching it and just put the headphones in and just looking at somebody just scrunch up a soft sponge.
I like the stroking the mic one. That's nice sound. But yes. Anyway, what are we gonna move on to now?
No, I want to go back to the man talk.
Right, the man talk.
The man talk. The name itself was curious to me when I first came across it, because I mean we're all familiar with the phrase that men don't talk.
Yep.
And so that was a nice little twist in it. So what have you found people's reaction to it has been?
Well, I got the Instagram page, the name, and I've also got the Twitter name. We haven't started putting contact out on Twitter, but I don't know how I got the name, The Man Talk in 2019. Like, it was just sitting there available on Instagram firstly, so that was a surprise for me. But it couldn't have come with a better name, because it's just like straight and direct to the point of what it is. And just on my journey of sort of self-development, improvement, everything, it's all communication, conversation, and I think that men aren't speaking, men are suffering in silence, and there's a lot of issues that we go through as men.
But have you felt like when you've reached out to people, they haven't been willing to talk, or they have been willing to talk, they just haven't had
it's a culture, really,
because we don't know how to
we
talk.
Banter each other a lot, as men, in a lot of situations, banter each other a lot. So it's like, how can I be vulnerable with you today and be like, open myself or lay myself bare, and then it's just like that might be used against me in the future in banter. That's one thing. Yep. And then another thing is like, people don't know how to deal with the shit that they're going through. So they just think that they're alone. Social media, everyone's living their best life and living their great life. But like, sometimes people never get the option to just pause and look at like everything that you're doing. Like, what's driving you to do this? What's driving you to do that? Like we wake up and you want to do this, but it's like, why do you want to do it? What's the reason? And so many people are doing stuff for external factors, not actually doing stuff to please themselves, to make this. Because you can simplify life. Like, a lot of things that people stress out.
I like that phrase.
It's like you can sort it out. It's like you complain about this, but then you do this. So it's like,
don't help yourself.
Listen,
the
amount of times I've had this conversation with people, like your problem is here, right? And you want to be doing this. It's like, just do
your lifestyle has to be aligned with your wants. Like, your lifestyle has to be aligned with your wants. But a lot of people, they want this, or it's just like, it's like, okay, I want to get on the property ladder. But it's impossible to buy a property in London, blah blah blah. But it's like, you're in the club popping bottles and doing all of this stuff. So it's like, how is that? Just because you can't afford to buy a property, you're going to do this. But then, but then if you stop doing that, then you'd be saving money. You'll be on your way. You may not have it straight away, but you'll be working towards that. So it's just like that. And it's like setting goals, focusing on them, doing all that. But it's just having conversations. And sometimes if you can give someone a perspective or a viewpoint, for example, you've told me about listening to music on your headphones while you're reading a book. I'll be on the train. I'm like, how the hell do you do that? But I'm never going to stop someone and speak to them. But it's not, and now you've told me what you listen to. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's interesting now. So I'm like, I might even try that out myself and see if it works for me. But it's just giving that perspective. Like I spoke earlier on about my godfather telling me about Audible and him giving a perspective and a viewpoint. So it's about that. Yeah. And like, obviously myself and Terrell put the event together. Like, we're not here to be like, we're the role model men and we're going to have the man talk. And we're just like orchestrating and getting men together to have a conversation. So we put together a panel and we have conversations that are to hopefully inspire men and to share things, but also to normalize them in a case of that, just let you know that they're just like normal men. Like, I think a lot of us put people on pedestals, but they are a normal person and they've always been a normal person. With majority of people, they've just put the bloody work in. Like, everyone just put the work in. Like, majority of people, like, you'll say, like, I don't know, Michael Dapper, Cardi B, like, some of them, there are some people who just go, oh yeah, they had that one, like, for example, Michael Dapper, he just went on Charlie Soft the one time and done his freestyle, and then that turned into a tune, and now he built that. And then Cardi B had that one hit and blah blah. But then it's like, no, they've been consistently pumping out content, and it's what they've been doing that has led and got them to the point of where they are and mastering their craft and improving. And it's just that majority of people who have success, it's about them being consistent and working on their craft. Yeah.
So what do you see as being success then? Like,
it's down to the individual. Like, I just say, for me, I think success is being fulfilled and being at peace. Like, just whatever it is that you need to fulfill you, and just being at peace and being cool. Like, things are still going to come and affect you in your life. Like, it's just a part and parcel of life, and you have to deal with it. But yeah, that's it. Like, balance. Yeah. And that's one person I really want to talk to is Stormzy. Like, I really want to talk to Stormzy.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's just like, he's spoken. I haven't listened to all of his interviews and stuff. So I don't know if it's a topic or something that he's spoken about. But he's spoken on his first album regarding like him going through depression and all of that stage. So I kind of want to speak to him and unpackage that. But also just how he is as he just seems to just have the humblest of settings in regards to where he's got with his life and where he's at.
Yeah,
he's not like a showy person or trying to do, like, you always just catch him in a standard tracksuit or something or whatever. If he's got like that's just how he rolls. Obviously he'll get a car or whatever, but if that's what you're into, that's cool. Like, do that. But he's not a person who, majority of these people guys, people who have been successful or that would be classed as like some sort of celebrity, they sell or put this lifestyle onto people.
Yeah.
So it's like people idolize celebrities, and then that lifestyle is kind of like, that's the lifestyle that I want to have, and that's what I need to have, and then that's what people aspire to achieve and want to accomplish. And I think that's why, like, culturally, like with rap and hip hop music, we just, it's non-stop material things that are promoted in like brands and clothes and cars and popping bottles and blah blah blah. So I think a lot of people get caught up in a trap financially, because it's just like, well, I can, if I saved the whole paycheck, I could afford those shoes, or I can go to the club and buy that bottle, or I can do that. And then it's just like, that's not advancing the people as individuals to better themselves. But I just feel like Stormzy I just feel like he doesn't share any sort of negative thing on, like, culturally to the people. Then that's basically it. So I just like to speak to him.
Yeah,
I might get,
because I see him. I see that he likes to banter people that criticize him. He does that quite a lot, which is kind of funny. But for example, the Vossi Bot track that he released. Did you see the little voice note he recorded?
I think I heard a bit part of that.
So basically, there was a guy who like must have sent him a VN on Snapchat or something. Yeah. Basically saying, "Oh, you're a pussy. You need to release some more music."
Yes.
So he drops that. I mean, he posts it on the Twitter, and then he drops the song.
Yeah.
So like he likes to joke about, but that's kind of, that made me laugh.
I posted his tweet the other day as well.
Is it?
Because he said vegans think they're so sick.
Yeah, that's the one. He's like,
me.
And then he was like, he made another vegan joke after in the comments. He was like, "Oh, don't come in and start throwing
lentils at me."
No, lentils.
Lentils.
Lentils at me. Yeah.
I'm surprised he actually didn't get heating corn for that, though. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm sure a lot of vegans listen to his music, because he's obviously
No, but you just know that's Stormzy's.
Yeah, but it's a joke, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a joke. It's him, like. But with the current state of everything so sensitive.
Oh yeah.
But 100%. He's the UK's kind of sweet man, but humble character. So we can kind of let that slide.
Would you put Stormzy in the
no,
sweet
not
man
sweet
category?
man, but
I think what he's trying to say is that he's a nation's sweetheart.
He's a nation's sweet, like Beyonce is like a nation's sweetheart. Everybody loves Beyonce. Most people, bar Taylor Swift fans, but yeah, everybody loves Beyonce. But everybody loves Stormzy. He's like that upstanding guy that, like you said, that people like. So he's not really gonna, unless there's something really, really, non-PC or the wrong way, then people will let it slide more. So if, say, I don't know, maybe if like Young Bane or someone said that, then he might come under more fire, or if it even got that big.
But I think he always, more time, Stormzy always shares banter. Any like when
he's always come from banter. He would like all of the when he was really pushing in the early days, the murky hashtag. He would just drop banter on about football teams or about individuals or whatnot, and people accepted that, and it was really funny stuff. But I'm gonna go back to the man talk. Back to the man talk. But so, that's what it's about. It's just making a difference, and we having a panel that inspire males, and also just making them normal, understanding, and taking away from an individual of like, this is what they've gone through, understanding that a lot of people who have reached some sort of success have gone through hard stages and bad stages, and it's just like that. It's kind of just, that's what I want to take out of people's stories. Is it's not just, oh, you're successful, it's so great for you now, like it's like, no, like let's talk about how you got here. Let's talk about the hard times, like that's gonna actually impact people and think like, I thought he'd be happy. Or
is there anything you wouldn't touch in the man talk? Like, is there any topics that you wouldn't, like you try to avoid?
No, not really. It's just if it's something that's gonna be
progressive to the rest.
beneficial to men. Like we don't really have. Yeah, there's just not really the space to do so, and yeah, there's also the people had the opportunity to also share and tell their story.
Yeah,
and that was powerful. Like it
really was.
It was just because I was anticipating and expecting people to more so just ask the panel questions, but that for them to share their stories and to it was an impactful and amazing environment.
Was that planned like from the outset of like the whole conception of the man talk, or like to have that part where men come and can share their stories?
I had it in my head that the basically I was going to question the panel, and put questions to the audience. That's how I had it in my head initially when I was out there. But then, prior to actually being there at the event and being there live. But then when I started, so I facilitate the man talk conversation. By the way, I just wanted to say that to the listeners so they understand.
I don't know if we actually said that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So it's basically a panel discussion where you facilitate the 6 or 7 panelists and then an audience full of men.
Yes.
Cool.
So
go.
And men only, so females are not able to at the man talk event. So there will be maybe some mixed events in the future, but yeah, currently the man talk is just male, fully 100% male event. So yeah, when I started having the conversation with the panel, I just felt like if I took it to the audience, it would kind of digress and go to a next place and sort of be hard to stay on track with the conversation. So I just felt it would be better to stick with the conversation with the panel and then put it to the audience afterwards. But having some sort of, whether it's hands up or yes or no or something, having some sort of interaction with the audience. But so then that was it. And then I just gave the audience obviously the opportunity to speak afterwards. And I was expecting more so them to just ask questions of, sometimes you're listening to a conversation and you're like, I want to know this or I want to know that. So I was just expecting questions.
I had a bunch of questions I wanted to ask. I won't lie. I wanted to speak to the financial advisor as well, but he had to shoot early. Yeah. But I've got his card though, so I'll definitely shout him.
But yeah, I think it was the experiences that, what's the name? The guy from was it?
Oh, from Love Island too.
No. Oh. Yeah, that was a big one too. But I think it was one of the panelists.
Paul McGregor.
Paul McGregor. Paul, and then the other, I can't remember his name. Gabriel, yeah. Those two stories I think maybe really sort of cultivated that sort of moment for like people to feel comfortable to come and share their stories, because those were stories that were so personal to them. Gabriel, obviously.
I thought Toro had quite a personal story.
Oh yeah, and Charles too. So I feel like
and yours.
The whole panel.
So basically the whole panel.
Yeah, the whole panel.
We're getting there one by one.
Getting there one by one, yeah. Because actually, the other guy spoke about how he wasn't being able to afford, to raise his daughter and whatnot. So yeah, let me scrap that. But the whole panel is sort of real deep, in depth. Because it's not easy to sort of share those stories, especially to strangers that you don't know, even though you've been invited or whatnot. They could have just kept it shallow, obviously. As you know. Yeah. So I think it was that really then gave the men there a real sense of, I can do this. I can kind of, be confident and go and do it. It felt like a safe space. So I think that's why they came and stood up and told their stories, because and they were coming by the boatload, man. Like, and it's really like a great sight to see that, because I don't really see that in a lot of the social circles. I mean, obviously the social circles, we are open, we are honest, but there's still, things we don't talk about. And I'm one who talk about amongst my friends and my family and whatnot, like the problems I'm going through and whatnot, like, when I've had depression before or whatnot, or when my friends are depressed, we generally talk, but sometimes, you have to rile it up, or sometimes almost gets to a breaking point before you do that with some people I know. But it's good that there's just places that people can go just to, they didn't even have to say anything, but they can just, if they're going through that, they can just see that they're not alone.
But with and that's the thing
society, and it's like and they don't have to feel judged, because like you're saying, like I'm sure like when you were depressed, maybe you felt like you were judged even though that you were depressed. Like you felt judged as a person, or you're going through something, you're going through difficulty. It's the judgment of other people that then you bring onto yourself, which is like and which creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of like vicious cycle of pain and problems. But when you are at a place where you don't feel judged, and then you feel like, okay, maybe I can take this from my life, and then it's not so hard. There's other people going through it, then it helps the journey for you to get through. But
and that's the thing is, like, a lot of the things that were spoken about, it would have been the first time people have actually heard somebody authentically speak about that. So it was just like, for example, I said earlier that, you know, I was having suicidal thoughts. If I'm having suicidal thoughts and I never hear anybody speaking about them having suicidal thoughts, I'm like, am I cracking up? Am I going? So then this creates some whole new thing internally that I'm having. And obviously a lot of people suffer in silence. So it's like, who do you turn to with this? And then it just builds up as some big thing. So then understanding that, oh, wow, do you know what? I'm not the only person who deals with that. And it's just a normal thing. And that's the thing that's beautiful of having the participation of the audience, is that it's one thing to look at a panel speaking, and it can be impactful having a panel speak. But then when the audience members come up and share, it's almost that it's kind of come from your camp if you're attending the event, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because they're coming out from you. So it's like one of you got. So yeah, it was amazing. And then to touch based on the conversation of suicide, and then and speak about it's Mike from Love Island, that's his name. Who committed suicide, and then two of his friends were there and attended the event, and then them share their story. And shared
that another one of their friends committed suicide as well, which absolutely was devastating. It really just goes to show them that you just have to speak, you have to talk, and you just peel away the army your friends or the person brings you.
And I attended like a few sort of men's mental health events, and I just felt like even some of the women empowerment events, and it's not to go like, here we're better and all of that, but I just feel like they don't move anything forward. They don't change anything. It's like they're just having a conversation. It's like, oh yeah, men, we get depressed. You know, we get depressed on a regular basis. It's just something, you know, you got to learn to cope and deal with. And it's just like, well, how do you learn to cope and deal with it? What is it? Let's get to the core. You know, if you've dealt with depression, like even like influencers and stuff on social media, it's just like they say these things, but a lot of them aren't 100% authentic in life, like just transparent, if that makes sense. So they'll choose one day to share, oh, I've been feeling really depressed and down, but then there's other days when they are depressed and down but are all happy and like everything's great. So it's just
they've taken 1,000 takes to just like one video to be like, hey guys, check out my new shit, or this is what I'm doing today. So do you know what I mean? And it's just soul destroying, but they're never showing you when they're actually at their lowest low.
So we just wanted to, like me and Terrell, we just wanted to create a space that was cool for men just to be real and speak about like real life stuff basically, and what men go through and part of their experience.
And I think like a big part of it, like I said, all the stories are great, but when Gabriel shared a story about him just, you know, it being acceptable for him to like just sit there and cry to like get over his pain of losing his
no, that was Xavier, the life coach.
Sorry, Xavier, the life coach. Yeah, yes. Xavier, the life coach. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, just sit there and crying. And who did he must have lost his mother and father, I think.
Yeah.
And just, every day for how many months he did that.
Yeah.
And because, you know, it's still not acceptable for like, quote unquote, for men to be seen crying really in most circles. In communities. 100%. It's really hard. And so it's good to hear that they can, other men can hear and, you know, feel that acceptance to be like, no, you can cry if you're feeling like it, man. You know, you don't have to cry in front of your friends or anyone, but just cry to yourself. Or, you know, some people say that, I've spoken to before, they, you know, if they're feeling really down, they just go to the cinema and watch a sad movie just to cry, because that's a mechanism, a coping way for them to cry, and obviously then they improve from there, and then, you know, you can cry in front of your family or whatnot. But it was a telling story to be like, and seeing that, you know, other members being responsive to that. Because it is, you know, it's quite an illness. People say, no, you can't cry. You've got a man, you've got a bottle up in silence. It's really an infection, really, when that happens. Like I've seen that in front of my not friends, but people I know that they'll really be angry and they'll really, you know, be wound up, but they won't cry because they feel like it's such a defeat to them.
And as well, because this is what we wanted to create with the Man Talk also, is just having. So we have Xavier, the life coach, and you know. Paul McGregor, he came from Calm, which is a campaign against living miserably, who are the leading charity for male suicide prevention. So it was just like, I wanted to create, and it's not to say you've got to go with the panel, but it's just to open people up to say, like, you know, here's some financial advice, here's some like therapy, here's like just kind of almost a taster menu of what's out there to help you with the situation if you're going through a situation. And as well, like, some people who attended weren't directly affected by people's stories in regards to like they haven't experienced it personally themselves. However, I would say everybody in the audience would have somebody around them who was affected by that.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just feel like now, and it's only after doing the first event is that we can really like change the world with the Man Talk and create. Because if a group of friends tend to say a WhatsApp group attend the Man Talk, it then creates a sort of safe space within that friendship group now to kind of have conversations and, you know, are you really okay though, and really speak and delve into things.
Yeah.
Because again, even the event after the event was amazing as well. Loads of guys hanging around and having conversations with like strangers and having like deep conversations and stuff. So,
yeah, that was a unique experience.
A very interesting one to have. So yeah.
But you said real life. I wanted to change topic quickly. Photography, that's something that I do a lot of. So how did you get started in that?
You touched on it briefly at the talk, but yeah. I don't actually remember, so I want to hear.
Yes. Well, I originally purchased a camera because I was starting a clothing line and my friend was starting a bouncy castle company, and we just thought it made sense to invest in the gear as opposed to paying a photographer to do shoots on a regular basis to create content.
Yeah.
I do graphic design, so I could use Photoshop. Like I'm good with Photoshop, but I just didn't have a clue how to use a camera at all. I got the camera. I didn't teach myself how to use a camera.
What camera did you
at
have?
all. We got a Canon 5D Mark II.
Right.
You
jumped in the deep end.
Technical.
We went horse on it still.
For a first camera, you did well.
It had a kit lens on it. I can't remember what the lens was on it, but I didn't know. I didn't even have it in. I didn't even know what settings I was using on it. I was kind of just twisting and playing with things and just trying to see what happens and working it out. And the content that we created was good anyway. It was good enough for what we was using it for. And then my camera was kind of just sitting redundant, and then I started dating an influencer. Yeah. And I used to take a lot of images and stuff for her. We was together for 2 years. So I was doing loads of content for her. And then that got me sort of passionate about photography. And also it gave me a perspective from the other side of from having a model and someone who's on the other side of it and understanding the behind the scenes. So I thought, I'm not trying to say it's only my edits that make my photography good, but I just thought that a professional photographer was booked because you give them a camera and
they know what to do.
Bang, they'll capture the shot and then they can just give you the camera back and it's just there you go. Yeah. But then I didn't realize that there was a thing called Lightroom and that people edit their pictures.
My favorite thing to say is I'll fix it in post.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, but
I'll fix it in post.
I didn't know I didn't know that was a part of photography. I just thought that you just take a picture on the camera and then it was just obviously previously I was looking at my pictures and then I was like, oh, my pictures don't look as good as their pictures do. It's obviously it's not if it's not been edited at all. And then just understanding that side of it, and then I was just like, wow. And then I just really enjoyed taking pictures. So I then got some books and started learning photography really and just practice. And
so how long have you been doing it for now?
Just over a year, okay. And it's been it's been a crazy year. I've ended up shooting 2 weddings off the bat, which is something I wasn't expecting to do at all.
Yeah, they're not easy, boy.
Oh yeah,
weddings are not easy.
Stress.
Yeah,
and as well because I didn't have the equipment, so that was another thing. But I declined 3 weddings before. People had approached me, but it was because I wasn't ready. I didn't feel like I was ready to shoot a wedding. Firstly. And then secondly, on my social media, I only share portraiture. I don't share any sort of event photography or wedding photography or anything. It's literally just street photography of people. So I was just there's so many wedding photographers on Instagram because majority of my traffic was coming through Instagram. So I'm like, why are you going to come to me to take a picture? And then the first wedding I shot, she was basically, I was like, I don't really understand why you'd want me to. And then she was just I loved your pictures and I like the way you take pictures and I would just love to see you shoot a wedding and that's why I wanted you to. And then I was just fair enough. And then
but it went well though, right?
Yeah, it did.
You're painting a pretty bleak picture.
Yeah, sorry. But,
so she was happy. She was pleased.
She was happy.
So how was the experience of going from like?
Because I can't lie, weddings. I've been approached to weddings as well, but I turn them down every time. It's like it's just.
But like, how was like going from I'm not really a wedding guy. I do everything else. Like, obviously, you as a person who's very much into your mental, very much into you. Like, what did you do?
You got to step into it. It's like sometimes,
like when you got there,
you figure out as you go along.
You just got to go into role. But that's like for me. But that's what photography was. Because even if you got, I've never been trained how to use a camera. It's kind of I've always self-taught and like watching a few YouTube tutorials and stuff.
Yeah, picking up books and that. Yeah,
manual shooter as well, just to put it out there. But yeah, no matter. So I could teach you how to shoot today and the settings for today, but
they won't be the same.
The light's going to change tomorrow, and the light can shift a tiny fraction, and then it completely changes what settings you're going to use and how you're going to put together the picture. So it's just a lot of practice, and again, like if I had the mindset of just doing photography for money, I never would have got the following or the recognition that I'd got in the time that I had been doing it. It was just literally being on my grind. Collaborating and working with people where it made sense and just putting in the work. And this is, I guess, through reading Gary Vee's book. But if you take money out of the equation, if you're passionate about doing something today, you're doing your passion. Like a lot of people are solely focused on money. So for example, we're doing a podcast today. If money was the thing that we were doing a podcast for today and we was all getting paid £200, say, and that was the driver, then you're going to be like, oh yeah, we need to get £200. But it's like, okay, I want to do a podcast. I'm passionate about doing a podcast. In the long run, I might get to be making money off of my podcast. Yeah. But I done a podcast today, so today I pursued my passion. The same thing with photography. It's like, take money out of the equation. You may have got paid today. You may have not got paid today. You took pictures today. So you're a photographer. You took pictures. You're pursuing your passion. And then it was just like having that shift in mindset. It was just like doing that and then consistently like every moment of free time or time I could, I was just shooting, taking pictures. And then it was just like, yeah, I'm a photographer.
I think Charlemagne said something similar on one of his podcasts. He talked about how he used to tell people he wrote a book. And then he's like, nah, you didn't write a book. You're an author. There's a difference there because it's like when you're an author, it's thing you have created this you basically manifested this thing from your brain into reality, and it's something that takes a lot of care and dedication and passion. Whereas that you can write a book and make PR of it, or you can be an author and curate a piece of art that then you can share with people, and then obviously impact people like yourself.
And that's another thing I just want to say about books, changing the subject slightly, but with a lot of books, this is a person trying to give the best piece of work in being an author of that they can do of a viewpoint or opinion. And it's just like some of us are in positions that you might be in an estate in, I'm going to say Tottenham, right? You might be living in an estate in Tottenham, only have roadman friends or whatever. This is now you being able to have a conversation with Bill Gates. This is you now being able to have a conversation with Steve, whoever, like
Steve Jobs,
whoever, like this is you Oprah, being, and that's what I'm saying. And there's all of these sayings about, it's about your circle and who you are around with and all of that. But you're able to create that through literature, and that's the power in it. As well.
Well, staying on that point before we bounce back though. But don't you think that there's got to be some sort of, how do we get people to get to the level to want to have conversations with those leaders or those people who have been successful or people that can help them? Because it's, reading's not very cool.
It's again.
So like, what are we doing? Like, what do we have to do?
I don't think that reading is the issue is that reading is not very cool. I think that the issue is that reading is not relatable.
Okay, yeah.
So if I get you to read a book and tell you to read a book and a title that's not going to impact you or change your life, then it's not really going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. It's like, for example, finance. I've been shocking with finance until about a year ago, really, and always blowing money, living outside of my means and stuff. And it's not until I've read books or had conversations with people and they've broke it down. In fact, it was a conversation I had with my friend's mum in a coffee shop that got me to properly start saving. But she just made it relatable that it makes sense. It's like,
what did she say? What was the magic key? Go on, boss us.
Boy. She basically just said, she said to me to make sure I save 10% of my wages, like what I'm earning every month, just save it and do not touch it. Like, don't make it like like enable myself to have access to that funding. Because what I used to do is I used to save every month, but I used to go into my savings every month and take out my savings. So,
and you say to yourself, I'll put it back later.
You never put it back.
Yeah. But I used to do it. And also it was, she said about paying myself first. So making
my mum always says that to me.
Making that saving first. Because a lot of the time, what I used to do as well is that I'll be like, at the end of the month, you know, when I got that little bit of money, I'll save that or I'll put that aside. But then the end of the month comes and you never have that little bit of money, so you never end up saving. So it was just that case of like paying yourself first and making it relatable. And then just having just a broader perspective of just like stuff's not really serving you. In Charlemagne's book, he also says the Albert Einstein quote, insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that, I love that stood out to me again in that book, and it was something I was just like, fuck. Because a lot of people in life, they're upset with the results that they have now today, but they're just doing the same stuff every day. So you're always going to get the same results. So it's like, until you shift or change something, just the same results are going to come. So it's like, shut up, basically.
I remember having this conversation with one of my boys as well, and I'm basically telling him that he was like, he was just pissed, and I told him that you're angry at yourself because what you've realized is that the person you are is a result of all the decisions you've made. So if you continue making the same decisions you've made, you're going to end up in the same place. Yeah. And the only way to change who you are is basically to develop a new mindset, change your perspective, and make different decisions down the line. But I mean, literally, it's just a thing of it's small decisions every day that have a compound interest on basically building that of who you want to be in the future. Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's very easy to say, and I think it's a lot harder to commit to, you know, the person that you committed to your person to make it who you are. Yeah.
Oh, it's very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, we all have a good...
Do you think about when you want to train to be something else, or, you know, for people who change career, you've got to then change yourself completely, your mindset.
Because like you said, people get comfortable.
But again, I think it's having conversations. If you're surrounded with conversations with people that are making you, holding you accountable. Yeah, people. If I say to you, the way you're living today is crap. Like, why are you waking up at this time? Why are you doing? And then it's just that you've now got to think about that. Or if I had to share my story and say I wasn't up at 5, I'm just, oh no, in fact I was up at 5 today. So I was up at 5 working. But then it's just that, okay, it's possible. And then if you break it down deeper and say, you know, it is possible for you. Tomorrow you can change, because we all have this, like, we've created this whole character, you know. Oh, I'm not a morning person. I like my sleep, or just everyone has their thing that they've created, and they give themselves their own limitations. But it's that, no, if you really want to, tomorrow you can change. Like, you can make these changes tomorrow, or you can work towards them. And it's just like, even if you improve, like, as you were saying, just 1% or making this different change. Over time, that's going to add up. That's compound interest. Add up and create something. Like,
Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world, or something like that.
Say that again?
He called it the eighth wonder of the world, compound.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, he's right, man. You've just got to build to it. But it's discipline at the end. At the end of the day, it's self-discipline.
It's down to the individual.
We're all capable, yeah, of course.
No, it's down to the individual. And again, that conversation with God, it was your call, mate. You could have done it. You know what I mean? But it's down to the individual, and you've got to put the work in. And I think, like, taking life for granted, thinking that, you know, there's always gonna be tomorrow, and then it's like, bro, and it's just like, sooner or later you're like 64, and sorry if you're listening and you're 64, like you're 94 or something. I'm just saying that, you know,
you'll have that time where you hit that regret, like, rah, man, I wasted them days.
Yeah,
like you waste your youth.
Because I wasted a decade. Like, if I was of the mindset and of the, like, just in the place I was at now, like 10 years ago, like, I know I would be creating and doing some amazing things and doing some amazing stuff. I'm doing some amazing stuff now. But I'm just knowing, I know I would have had that advantage of having time.
In hindsight.
However, I love the process. So I feel like I had to go through all of the stuff that I went through to get me to the place and space that I'm at. And I'm still working on myself. Like, I don't want to be here on the podcast like, oh, you know, I'm brilliant and blah. Like, it's just that I think anybody,
but here's the thing. I think anybody who has achieved any level of success will always have the same mentality of I'm still working on myself, because they realize it's never a finishing project. It's something you have to continuously work on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got bugged out for a second. I was making sure this was still recording.
Yeah, it's continuous process.
You said dedication. Bruv, you run every day. Why?
Why do I run every day?
Yeah, I
don't enjoy running.
So why are you doing
why'd you do it?
Because, again, what
does it do for you?
I read books and I watch some YouTube content and interviews and videos and stuff. And
because these aren't they're not like 5-10 minute runs you're doing. You're talking about 5-10K.
They're like 25 minutes.
5-10Ks I've done. Yeah, I like a few months this year. I've ran like every day of the month for. But I've given myself some rest. But fitness is something that majority of successful people
take seriously.
They take seriously. It's just like reading, growth. Read like whether it's working on something and growth in some area. Reading, a good diet, exercise. It's all something that the successful people do. Like a lot of them, it's all in their routine and built into the routine. So it's just like, for me, it was something I felt like I had to build into my routine. Going to the gym was not always the easiest to fit into a routine. Whereas running, I can wake up, put on some shorts, throw on trainers, and then I'm out the door. Like it's not a long thing for me to do. Whereas if I go to the gym, I've got to go travel to the gym somewhere and do that. So it was just easier for me to fit into my routine. And again, I think reading David Goggins' book, like he got you
gassed up.
No, he got me more on the running thing. I ain't gonna lie to you. David Goggins is hearing his stories, and I started entering competitions and stuff. So I done the 10K breast cancer run, the winter London run or something earlier on in the year, and then I done the Hackney Half. Sunday just last gone, weekend, and then I signed up for the marathon next year.
Woo!
But I feel like you know what? I ain't gonna lie, yeah. The likelihood of you signing up to the marathon and getting selected is low, yeah. But
how does that process work? I've always wondered.
I don't know how the ballots, how it's selected or how they choose, but it's just that.
So my mate over here is probably the best person to talk about for getting selected. But you obviously sign up, see who you're representing, and then you get put in like the system, and then they choose you. I don't know if it's random, but
it's not representing. You just so you sign up. So the first you can sign up,
but
and then
you run for someone.
No.
You run for a charity, no?
No, you sign up. If you sign up to just to run, you'll basically pay a fee, which I think is like £50 or something to run, and then if you don't get selected, then you're able to run for a charity. But if you run for a charity, you've got to raise £2,000. Unless you're in a group. No, it's definitely £2,000.
I don't know. I've never ran it.
So it's so it's just a choice.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I don't know. I'd like to raise. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of charities to a certain extent. Like I do like charities, but then I
ran for the breast cancer.
I don't like them. Huh?
You ran in the breast cancer 10K. Was that just because you wanted to run the 10K and the competition?
Yeah, but I didn't run for breast cancer. I just paid to run in that race.
Yeah, you just wanted to run for the competition.
Yeah. Okay.
I hear that.
So it's just some of the charities. I don't really know how they distribute the finances.
100%,
and I have no issues with if people are involved in charity. Like some people have the viewpoint that if it's a charity, how comes they're getting paid and blah blah. But if they've built like the infrastructure for this to happen, like no one can work in a charity for free and not survive. Like you can't put your be a CEO in a charity and expect somebody to be committed when I could be a CEO in a company and get paid
X
crazy money. So it's just it makes sense for them to be paid. It's just in regards to distribution, how it goes down. I'd prefer to directly do something myself, like I've done with the Man Talk or proactively do something.
I heard that. Anyway,
and so you run and raise some money for yourself. And then give it to something.
Yeah. So if I had £2,000 to donate to a charity or to do charity, I know I could do some very impactful stuff with that. But me making £2,000 with someone, and then I don't know what's going to happen exactly with my finances.
I feel
and stuff.
I feel you.
Anyway, I'm gonna have to wrap it up there. Before we do, I got one more question for you.
thought, no, you're out of questions. You can't ask me more questions.
What do you mean, bro? It's unplugged. We question.
It's my podcast. Ask whatever question I want. The question is this: what important truth do you hold that not many people believe in?
Oof. Is this someone a question that everyone gets asked?
No, we've never done.
Nah, it's just I read it in a book, so I decided to ask you.
Ask the question again.
What important truth do you believe in that few people agree with you on?
I ain't got nothing for you there, still.
Or what do you believe in that you...
take your time.
That less people... Or that you get a lot of backlash for. That people
not even that.
People doubted you, or that, you know, people give a lot of ignorance.
I'll ask you one more time.
I think right now, yeah, I'm making the most of my time on this planet, on the earth. Yeah, so I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
I've also got the man talk.
And you're a runner.
I do running.
And
I do events as well. I also do graphic design. I've got loads of things that I work full time as well. I work full time. Look, I don't really share on social media that I work full time, but I work full time and I work all of these things around it. So I just feel like a lot of people are, and I've started DJing as well.
Yes,
DJing
my
as well.
guy. What are you using?
We've got some decks here for you to play on.
Yeah. It's good fun DJing. I can't lie, man.
That's what it's been my hobby. Yeah,
it's a great hobby, man.
But it was like, for me, I wanted to have a hobby that was going to do something, if that makes sense. That, like, I'm not saying I want to become some big DJ out of doing it, but I just wanted to have a hobby that serves purpose, if that makes sense. So it was just.
Well, I mean, like, you never know, the next events that you do.
You haven't answered the question though.
Start spinning.
Yeah, that's what I'm
start DJing. I'm gonna make sure he gets.
That's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, no, it's good.
But,
give me a shout if you need a DJ too, bro. I'll come through and drop some rhythms as well.
What, some soca?
If you want.
Huh? No, I know you was with the small
of course, man.
earlier on, so I'll just, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, I play everything, man.
Okay.
I mean, I was a little gun because you thought I was gun in Jamaica. But hey, man, I'll let that one pass.
I hope you don't play bashment.
Why not? What's wrong with bashment?
Huh? I'm still hurt. You kind of insulted my country.
No, I love bashment. Don't get me wrong. Come on, man. Do you know how it put a smile on my face when Buju Banton got freed, man?
Okay.
Come on, my guy. But yeah, no, I wasn't. I was just trying to say that Carnival's more a thing that I would associate with our countries.
We're running
out of time.
We are not going back to this.
We're not going to go back to that.
Okay.
So we'll catch up on the DJ thing after on off air, innit? But yeah, no. So the question. Do you want to run it one more time?
I thought I didn't answer it. I was in my answer till I was rudely interrupted by you know what I mean?
By the Jamaican hater.
I just no, I love Jamaicans. Relax, man. Patty and cocoa bread.
Yeah,
we're good.
Like yeah, I like jerk chicken and red stripe. Yeah.
No, red stripe's not really me,
bro. Yeah. So I guess for me, it's the utilization of time and making the most of time. And that, I think a lot of people say that you can be whatever you want to be, but I think a lot of people don't really believe that concept, and it's kind of just a nice thing to say.
But do you believe in that concept?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that there is a power in actually believing and also action. Like, a lot of people, they say, you know, I want to be a boxer, I want to be this. It's just that you've got to put the work in. Like, you got to be waking up at whatever time and putting the work in, and the grinding. Yeah, and having a team around you that also supports you. Because I think as well, like with a lot of successful people, like I don't know, so LeBron, Jordan, Ronaldo, Messi, like all of these people, a lot of people don't think about like the coaching teams and all of the things that are around them to make them everyone kind of just sees it as it's just them on their journey, just doing their thing.
They see the medals and the goals, but they don't see the sweat and the tears in the gym.
Yeah. But no, I'm just mean like all of the things around.
They don't see the production, especially in football now. Everything is so scientific and, you know, planned to a T. They don't see the strength and conditioning teams. They don't see, you know, even his mum, like the mums or the dads, the family, cooking the meals every day or her meals every day. Yeah. You know, making sure that they stick to a certain schedule, weighing their food, etc. Or, you know, the coach's strength and conditioning, you know, or, you know, the people in the gym, the trainers, and all those people who, you know, they never really get the mention, but
well,
they might get the mention when he wins something,
but
it never comes into the consumer's mind who sees the celebrity.
Ronaldo, like if you say Ronaldo, you just think of Ronaldo.
Like, he's the god, or he's CR7 versus Messi, but everyone has that row. But yeah, you never actually really see. Oh man, his physio probably is really good because when he breaks his leg or when when he's injured, who's the one that's rehabilitating him? So yeah, that's a good point. That is a very good point. But
wrapping up there then.
But yeah, man.
Leon, where can they find you on the socials?
So my personal social media is Sweets Lewis. That's SweetsLewis. That's my I guess my regular page that I use on a regular basis.
He's got some good pictures. He takes good pictures.
Well, that's not my photography page.
No, but I'm saying who takes the pictures of you?
I get people to take pictures.
They're good, man. I want to have a look through.
When you get the photographer lines up the picture though. You say this is what I want. I want it there. This is how I want it, and the angle and make sure that the lines are straight.
Talks about the 1/3 composition.
All like that. Yeah. You got to talk it, but yeah. But I don't like pictures as well. That's another thing. I hate my picture being taken, and even like me doing podcasts and doing all these things. Like, I've not been the greatest of like public speakers, and I mumble a lot and use gap fillers and and yes.
Mate, you didn't use any today, so
yeah. I'm sure when I listen back, I'm gonna be
barely any
hearing all of my but yeah, there was one there.
Yeah, but that's because I induced that.
Yeah, and my photography page is Leon and Lewis, and then the Man Talk event, the Instagram for that is the Man Talk.
And when's the next event coming up?
The next event is on the 19th of June, which is at the Ritzy in Brixton, and starts at 8:30. And tickets are available via themantalk.co.uk. The panel is Terrell Lewis, myself, and Xavier, the life coach, are sort of the standard three that will always be there. And then we've also got as guests Chucky Online, Xavier. No, why don't I say Xavier? Yanni from Yanamize and Callum Best. Yeah,
incredible.
Sweet. Kofi,
it's been a pleasure. Pleasure having you here, man.
Thank you guys for having me on as well. Like it means
I've genuinely been excited for this conversation for a while.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to have had when we met you, from when we.
It's one of those Charlie Stoff ones that they say to everyone when they're on that,
No,
bro. You see, with a podcast, you can actually go back and listen to it.
Yeah, man. You can actually check that. Like, we rarely have a podcast that flows like this, and I'm gonna go home and I think a lot about because usually we're talking about what's happened before, but now I'm
I think this makes a nice change.
It's a nice change because
last week's episode was a lot more banter.
Heated. This is more focused. A bit more. I'm gonna think a lot more like post the podcast and whatnot. So yeah.
Coach, where can I find you on the socials?
As usual, you can find me on Instagram at SBK Worldwide, on Twitter at KTheFixer, and yeah, that's about it, guys.
Yeah, and my name is Izu. It's Izu Dumalato on Instagram and on Twitter. You can find a podcast at the Unplugged Podcast on Instagram and on Twitter. Remember, that's Unplugged spelt with 3 G's. Episode 29, we out.
Peace.
Easy.
Hi guys, you've been locked into the Unplugged Podcast. That's Unplugged with 3 G's. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Unplugged Podcast. See you on the other side.